Yo, this is Easy Mo B, and I'm suggesting that you tune into and check out Music Connections magazine.
I'm glad you're able to make this time for us. Again, I know the first time there were some technical difficulties, but nonetheless, still wanted to make this happen. So I really appreciate that. So we'll get into it. So first question, how did you get started in entertainment?
I got started in entertainment by sitting as a little boy on the couch, listening to my father just play records over and over and over, albums, 45s, and that's what led to my original love for the music.
Okay.
If it's okay for me to originally tell you where that love comes from, and then that led to me watching hip-hop actually form itself in the streets by way of the block party and I don't know, the DJ, that guy that was the center of attention always just fascinated me, and I wanted to be one of those guys. And I ended up being one of those guys at the tender age of like around 12 years old, man.
Wow.
I'm 12 years old on the turntables and imitating these guys I saw out in the park, you know what I mean, running from antique stores, the old bookstore, Salvation Army, what have you, wherever I could go and I find the records and digging in my father's old records, of course, that too. To find these grooves, these breaks, these beats, that I could find two copies of and run that break, that groove over and over and imitate what I saw these guys out in the park were doing. You know, that led to, you know, from playing records and DJing them long enough, after a while, I just wanted to make them. So I hope I didn't take too long to answer your question. But that's how it all started.
It's unrestricted, so take as long as you need per question. I really appreciate that. Mm-hmm. So second question, Mr. Moby, you know, you're such an influential force behind production with so many hits to your name. How was it like working with Miles Davis and the Wu-Tang Clan?
Oh, you mean the contrast between the two?
No, just working with them, like your experience, your thoughts.
Oh, okay, well, working with Miles Davis, believe it or not, it was incredible, but it was incredible to me because I couldn't believe I was there doing it.
Right.
But other than that, he made it so easy. He was just as normal and you know, easygoing. And people always say, you know, when they speak about the reputation that he had for being where he could be mean or snappy, he was never that with me. I saw him be like that with his keyboard player that worked together with us on the album, but he was never ever like that with me. I think what Miles was harboring, and I had read different articles in the past about him. I think what Miles was harboring was stuff that goes way back to him as a little kid from, I don't know, probably from he was already performing by the 50s, so I don't know, I would say by the 30s or 40s, whenever he was born. I think he was harboring a lot of stuff all the way from racism, inequality, and stuff like that. For instance, those type of actions, like when he would perform and turn his back to an audience. That was his way of saying, you know, that's right. You came to pay to see me. I'm good, and I'm that good. I'm that great.
Right.
You know, that you know, that's my answer as far as Miles with Wu-Tang.
Yeah.
Wu-Tang is something that happened because of Big Daddy Kane.
Okay.
Because I worked with Big Daddy Kane, there were these two guys named Mel Kwan and Shabazz who they were always in tow of the early formation of Wu-Tang and their crew. So they caught up with me, and one of them in particular, Mel Kwan, he said, "Hey, you Easy Gonna Be you. I see you do the Kane stuff and everything. I want you to work with a new rapper, a new artist guy." He said his name is The Genius. I was like, "Oh, okay, all right." We got together, and he explained to me. He said, "Listen," he said, "this ain't nothing." He said, "We got a whole crew, G." He said, "This is just the first of them." He said, we got. First of all, what they're doing is they're fusing martial arts together with the hip hop." He said, "I know it sounds crazy, and the Genius here is just the first of them." He said, "You got many styles." He said, "You got Genius here, you got the Old Dirty Bastard, you got a dude, the Ghostface Killer." He said, "You got Shalab Raekwon." He said, "You gonna meet all of them." And eventually I finally did. But we went into the studio, and this new rapper, this new artist he was talking about at the time, who his name was just The Genius. Later on, The Genius morphed into Jizza. We all know him by now with the album Liquid Swords and
right.
all of that. But before all of that, he was trying to get me to work with The Genius. But even before, a hot minute before that even got the chance to happen, I worked with another guy he introduced me to. And that guy, his name was, at that time, Prince Rakeem.
Original.
He said, also, he said, "I got another one, man." He said, he got a deal right now on Tommy Boy. He got a single deal. He said, we got the A side, "Oh We Love You, Rakeem," and he said, "We want you to do a B side to it." And I did. It was a record called Sexcapades. Real funky, soulful type of thing, hip hop thing. And they kept telling me about shout to and much support and love to True Master, who's not out here with us right now. Much love and support to him, brother. Hold your head. But he used to spend a lot of time coming over to my house, and he used to keep telling me, he said, "Yo, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. Everything's coming together, man." And I'll never forget one day when he came to my house, True Master. He brought the 12-inch of Protect Your Neck.
Okay.
The independent single that they pressed up. That's how I got the record. I still DJ vinyl, and that exact copy that he brought over to me is the one that I still use, at parties and stuff. But I'll never forget it. He rang the bell, knocked on my door, I opened it, he came in, he rushed in the crib, he said, "Yo," his exact words was, "Yo, we did it, G, we did it." I was like, wow, it just goes to show you that anybody that's chasing a dream or really, really wants to accomplish something, to do something, if you just stay at it and you try hard enough, you can actually do it.
Definitely. Definitely. So speaking about the other artists that you work with, I know you work with Tupac and Biggie. How's it like working with them?
Oh, the contrast between the two of them is far apart. You know, Biggie is more laid back, but he was more laid back, but he also had a humorous prankster side too, where he would play jokes and stuff. But Tupac, he was always a lot more serious and on the ball, and always ordering everybody to be on point in the studio, and he's just always championing you. Like, come on, yo, let's go, we need to do this song and everything. He's like, if you were like sitting down, I'm not lying to you, he would actually get up, man, come on. We gotta work, we gotta do this. And he had a lot of energy in the studio, man.
Okay.
I'm not saying that Biggie didn't have that same kind of energy, but Biggie's was, I guess, it was a bit more corralled.
Okay.
His was a bit more corralled and in control, and his was more like saying, look, I got this, just chill, I got you. Because I used to be real anxious about Biggie. Sometimes I didn't think that he was really working.
Okay.
But he was. He would be sitting there in the studio ordering food or, you know, goofing off a little bit with Junior Mafia and them, and then sometimes he would stop for a minute. And he'd just be sitting there. I wonder, like, what is this guy doing? And he was writing in his head. I had no idea. He was writing in his head.
Okay.
He was forming songs and lyrics in his head.
That's crazy.
And then I come over one more time and I say, yo, what's going on, man? Yo, I got you. As a matter of fact, I'm ready. Jump up, go and walk into the booth and just hammer out 3 verses. And then he walk out. After he do it, he walk out the booth, right? And just walk past me, just like smiling. In other words, like, see, I told you, just relax. I got you, man.
Right.
He was writing in his head.
Right. So.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm here.
No, okay, yes. So I was going to mention, you know, speaking about Tupac and Biggie, I know they had that song "Running from the Police," and that was a session that you recorded, right?
Yes, it was. There's an original,
right?
And there's a remix, and I'm responsible for the original.
Right? I know Eminem did the remix, right? But so you were in the studio with Tupac and Biggie for the original collaboration, right?
Yes.
Right.
Together.
Definitely. And so how was that session like?
It was actually a lot of fun and real crowded, but it was a lot of fun. A lot of ideas being traded back and forth. No, when we get here, we're going to do this. And, all right. Yo, check this out. And, you know, I watched them working together. Not only were they working together, but also he had the Outlaws in there. And rest in peace to my man Stretch from the Live Squad, who also was on the original version. Anybody out there, you have to go and, if you get a chance, you go and you hear the original version of Running, and you'll hear this exchange of lyrical mastery on the song, where you would hear them trade verses and sometimes even switch back and forth. It was crazy just watching that whole thing happen. I mean, they put together a song just like a lot of anybody else that I've stood and watched put together a song. And those were the earlier, better times where they were actually friends. There's a war that happened, but between the two of them, and which led to the whole big East Coast, West Coast thing, but I'm just glad that I was fortunate enough to be right there way before that to witness them as fights.
Definitely. Definitely. Were there any other material that was recorded that night?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yep. Were there any other tracks that Biggie and Tupac recorded that same night?
No, that session was just for that song.
Okay.
To be honest, what Biggie was doing is Biggie was performing inside of Tupac's sessions. That was off of Tupac's account that he had with Unique Recording Studios at the time.
Okay, so Biggie was recording there?
Excuse me?
Okay, so you said Biggie was recording in one of the studios inside, like the grand studio that Tupac rented out?
Yeah, it's one of the studios that I've recorded the most that I've ever done. I've done almost everything that I've ever done, most of it there. That was Unique Recording Studios, and Pac, he wouldn't have been in that studio if it wasn't for me. I'm the one who suggested. I said, yeah, come to want to record when we first were supposed to get together and work. I said, yeah, well, I got a studio I use here, Unique Recording. So he booked this lot of time over the amount of, weeks, days, whatever. And as we were going, he would just do songs and songs. Mind you, at that time, he was also splitting the time because he would go like to court by day, and then by evening, I remember it clear as day. By evening at 6 o'clock, the studio would start. So you got to imagine all of the angst and all of the how can I say it, man? All of the tension that just was building up inside of this guy. He was spending his time in court all day.
Right. Right.
And then at 6 o'clock, he would come to the studio. We all know that the courts close at 4 o'clock.
Right. Right.
If what you're involved in there has to take you all the way to the end of the day, then that means that he was there up until like 4 o'clock in the evening. And between 4 and 6, I guess he had a break where he'd probably go back to his hotel room or get something to eat or whatever. And then 6 o'clock. And I mean 6 o'clock sharp. Boom! You can actually hear the door, boom. He bust through it, walked through. What's up, Moby? What's going on? Yo. I was like, how do you do that, man? How do you maintain, the head, the mind to be headstrong, to go to court all day, and then you come in and just write all of these verses and supervise everybody. Come on, why don't you do this? Get up, don't sit down. I was like, wow. So I've said that before, but that's what it means by I had to actually try and keep up with him.
Okay.
A lot of times. Mm-hmm.
Speaking about some new projects coming out, the Woodworks, what do you have going on?
Well, there's a album that I'm about to do on Chuck B's label. He has a label called Slam Jams. And they approached me. He said, would you be interested in doing a project on my label? Said, yo, man, the work you've done over the years is so great, and you're really, truly kind of responsible for a lot of where we transitioned ourselves to today. I mean, in other words, you influenced a whole bunch of different people, but he just felt like, I never ever really got a lot of the true props and exposure, like a lot of the other DJs, like a lot of other producers have. So he's like, yo, man, you're the untold story. You know, would you like to do a project on my... I was like, sure, man. Sure. So that's what's being put together now. We can expect that later in the fall here.
That's dope, and hopefully I can get a copy from Tracy so I can do a review on it.
Absolutely.
And
I also want to make sure, and can't forget to speak about the formation of New Vision Entertainment. That's going to be a record label of our own. Over the years, I tried to do it so many different times in different ways. But a lot of times, funds and money has a lot to do with it, where you're not able to. But the funds are there. I have a solid investor. That we believe in, and the company is going to be Easy Mo B, AB Money from Rapping is Fundamental, the group that I used to be a part of, and a partner of ours, Mike Neal. Three of us about to form New Vision Entertainment. Only thing I can tell you is that I expect it to be music. I expect it to also to go in the direction of film, TV, wherever we can take it.
Final question. What was your most memorable recording session?
Okay. One of them that's most memorable to me, and it still stays with me. And the reason why it stays with me is because that's the very last time that I saw him. For the Life After Death album with that's Biggie's second album.
Right.
A lot of people know that I've done almost half the first album, Ready to Die, Warning, Give Me the Loot, Machine Gun Funk, Friend of Mine, The What. On the second album, they was Going Back to Cali, and I Love the Dough featuring
Jay-Z,
Angela Winbush, and Jay-Z. And for the I Love the Dough song, I was at Daddy's house in the one of the rooms. And Biggie, he showed up with Jay-Z. I was there before laying the track and everything, me and the engineers. And they came in, and they both looked kind of dressed like they was going to go somewhere. I mean, they both looked decent. It wasn't just like tuxedos going to church style or anything, but they both looked really neat. So I remember that, and it was to the I Love the Dough song. They were pacing the floor and writing in their heads. And we all know by now, Biggie did it first, and then Jay-Z in this day and time, that's his claim to fame also. He doesn't write anything down, he writes in his head. So imagine the two of them pacing back and forth, but it was a crisscross pace. In other words, when he's walking one direction, mumbling to himself, looking at the floor, Jay-Z is facing him, and he's doing the same thing. Then they turn around and get at the end of the room and come back and do that. It was like a crisscross, and they was pacing and just like mumbling to themselves. And they did that for a while, and then I'll never forget it. Big, he came over to me and he said, yo, Mo, me and his exact words, he was like, yo, Mo, me and Jigga, we gonna step out. We be back. That's the very last time I ever saw him.
Okay.
Because they took a while doing whatever they was doing, and they didn't come back soon enough. I had told the engineer, I said, listen, I tried to wait until they came back, Because I had to get up to go to another session the next day. It was getting late in the night. And I said, listen, just let them know I tried to wait for them, I got to get up and go to, in the morning for another session and stuff. They was like, oh, yeah, no problem. I will, bro.
Okay, cool. Well, man, I definitely appreciate your time, Mr. Easy Moby. Checking up with your fans, letting them know your current state. Much respect goes out to you. Keep doing it big, and I really hope to hear more great work coming out from you. Really appreciate it. I know it's been a long time coming. Just like your homie said about being the untold story, that's really one of the main reasons why I reached out to you, because I know that you were, again, an influential force, behind productions and with the story that we've already uncovered. You were there with the major players. So you provided, hit records to what we still play today. I still have Ready to Die in my car right now. I still play, Me Against the World, Life After Death. These are songs and albums to my life. I go back to them whenever I want to revert back to, raw lyrics or just, in times of my life where I need to pick me up. I feel down or I just need to get focused again, especially with, Ready to Die. That's just, it's just a perspective, for me. So, and I'm all the way from the West Coast, So it just shows you how far, music can go and how, it can touch people in the hearts, in minds and in spirit.